What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bomarito Automotive Group. Bomarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Bomarito has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Bomarito team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show. For 50 years, Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics has been proudly serving the vibrant St. Louis community. As a family-owned and operated practice since day one, the commitment to excellence and personalized care runs deep. They believe in giving back to the wonderful people of St. Louis who have entrusted them with their smiles. Step into the 5 locations across St. Louis with modern offices equipped with the latest orthodontic technology. Their 3 amazing doctors are dedicated to providing top-notch, innovative treatments tailored just for you. Join us in celebrating 50 years with Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics, where your family becomes a part of theirs. Schedule your free consultation today and let them help you achieve the confident, gorgeous smile that you deserve. Because in St. Louis, your smile is your legacy.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune in to the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. We're back with another episode highlighting the people, places, and events that make St. Louis special. We have one of those people and one of those events here in the studio today, but I just have to take a second just to thank everybody that keeps listening. We've been doing the show for 2 years now. We've done over 130 episodes. We haven't missed a week. We show up each and every week highlighting the people and places that make this city special. Got to shout out our friends over at Four Hands Brewing Company, the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis, Bomarito Automotive Group, First Community Credit Union, and Birch Tree Recovery for allowing us to keep doing this podcast. It's part of the reason we keep going. So thank you guys for that. But let's get right into it. So there's a festival coming up in a few weeks, when this podcast is being aired, and it's going to be a festival in the middle of Forest Park. You guys started it last year. Let's talk about Evolution Festival. We have Joe Litvag in the studio today, a legend in the festival community.
I don't know about
or in the music community. I mean, you were talking about things things that you've been doing this for a minute.
I've been doing it for a long time, but I think I might only be a legend in my own mind.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. So, Joe, I want to start. I'm on the Evolution website, obviously. I want to start by talking about this year's festival. What can people expect? Tell us a little bit about why you guys are doing it and an overview of what it's going to look like this year.
Sure. Well, we started the festival last year. 2023 was our first year. And the main reason why Evolution Festival came to be is I've done a lot of festivals throughout my career in other cities around the country. Mm-hmm. Never really done anything in St. Louis before, even though it's my hometown, born and raised. My partner on the festival, Steve Shankman, I would say he's more of the legend in St. Louis. He started, contemporary productions years and years ago in Riverport and all the other venues around town. And Steve was actually my first boss in the business. Mm-hmm. So he and I had kind of gotten together a few years ago and started talking about projects that we could work on together, because I had just launched my own company. I left the big companies behind and launched my own consulting company, and we were trying to figure out things that maybe we could work on together. And we both sort of had the same idea at the same time, which is St. Louis has been without a major music festival for 5 years now. This is a few years ago. We should be the ones to bring something back, because St. Louis deserves its own large-scale music festival, and who better to do it than Steve and myself. So we put our heads together and quickly came up with a partnership, and that was sort of the basis of Evolution Festival, to try to create something for people here in St. Louis and for folks out of town to be able to come and experience what St. Louis is all about. So we had a great first year. We had about 25,000 people over the weekend. It was 2 days last year. It's 2 days again this year.
I just watched a drone video today of that crowd when Ice Cube was performing.
Yeah,
it's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we're thrilled with how things went last year. we had zero, major issues, no security issues, very few medical issues, anything like that. So and part of it is luck. We got very lucky, and we take people's safety and security very seriously. That's the most important thing for us.
Absolutely.
While we're on site. So we have a lot that goes into that planning. But our hope this year in year 2 is that we increase our audience. We're hoping for about 35 to 40,000 people over the weekend this year.
Wow.
And we just took another step forward in terms of booking our lineup. Acts are expensive, and you have to be really careful with budgeting when you're booking a lineup for a festival like this. But we were able to take a positive step forward and get some big acts this year, and we're really excited. I mean, we did a lot last year that worked in terms of the fan experience. There's definitely some areas that we needed to improve upon, which we expected going in. We weren't going to execute perfectly year 1 because it's really hard to do that. But I think we've made all the necessary changes and improvements this year that it's going to be a really incredible experience this year as well.
What does it mean for you to be? I mean, Forest Park is so iconic to St. Louis. You grew up here. I grew up here. It was always a treat. I'm from a little bit out west in St. Charles, but it was a treat to go to Forest Park. We would go to the zoo. The Muni, just walk on Art Hill, go to these museums. To have a music festival in Forest Park in your hometown, I mean, what is that? How can you even put that into words? I mean, it's something special.
It really is. And I mean, quite frankly, before we moved forward with the festival, initially, I looked at a bunch of different locations, locations in various parts of the county, St. Louis County, over in the Metro East, et cetera. Because it takes somewhat of a unique space to be able to pull off a festival and to have it have the right kind of vibe. So we knew we wanted a green space. And of course, the first green space at the top of anybody's list that knows anything about St. Louis is Forest Park. But it's also not as easy as it sounds, because Forest Park is a gem that we're all incredibly proud of here in St. Louis. It's a very busy park, though. And even just getting an open weekend for a specific location in the park can be a challenge, because the park gets so booked up and they're so busy over every summer weekend anyway. So we were very lucky. I mean, we know the folks at the Parks Department and have a good relationship with them, and we kind of went and sat down with them, and they were able to carve out a weekend for us last year. And then we actually had to move it this year because of some scheduling challenges with the Muni, but they're our friends and our neighbors as well. So we moved because the Muni obviously takes priority in the park over a second year festival. But when we looked at the park, and I've found sites for all the other festivals that I've done in the past, and I walked pretty much all of Forest Park, knowing that in a perfect world, we want to be in Forest Park. It's centrally located. It's this crown jewel of the city. People feel welcome there from all over Metro St. Louis, from the Metro East to St. Charles County, Jefferson County, St. Louis County. It's a great gathering place. But I walked onto this one particular space called Langenberg Field, and I just had this vision as I was walking through the field of where the stages would be. It's surrounded by trees. We've got a nice creek on one side with the pedestrian bridge over to the boathouse, which we've turned into our VIP area. So it just kind of, all the pieces sort of fell into place. The next thing I do is I go on Google Earth and I look at all the roads and I look at the ingress and egress and those types of things to make sure it can all work. And then it was really just going and sitting with the park and laying out the vision for this particular area. And I think we locked in some place that's pretty special. I mean, I think just obviously being in Forest Park is so important, I think. And then Langenberg Field in particular, within Forest Park, it's centrally located. It's pretty to look at from all sides, and it gives us the open space that we need to create the experiences that we need.
And it is, like you mentioned, experience, and you mentioned, being like you're basically the front door to St. Louis. You're in the middle of the park here when people are traveling in from Columbia, from Arkansas, all these different places that in the Midwest that people are going to come to see. The Killers are going to come to see Beck, and all these people. Killer Mike, who I'm super excited to see. I like him a lot. He's incredible. But I think that people don't understand it. It's not just show up, play music. It's this huge production that you guys have been working on. The second last show was over, you're straight into this. There's no off time in this life. So what kind of, like, just for the people that are listening that are probably curious. I mean, what goes on the back end? I mean, do you guys just get into a whiteboard? Do you guys get on Zoom calls? I mean, do you guys how
and then
I mean,
yes,
yeah, it's
times
like
50.
what's the team look like to put on something like this? I mean, it's crazy.
It's a pretty big team because look, it really, I certainly would never even dream of taking credit because it's really this incredible team that does all the heavy lifting that they make Steve and myself look good. Steve and I are both intimately involved, but we also have a great team of people that we brought on over the last year or two to really sort of dig in and be in the trenches in various areas. So, the team is fairly large. We start off with, our department heads, which cover, site operations and marketing and production and sponsorship and food and beverage and all those areas. And then we have, armies of people under those department heads. So I think probably right now, just working on the festival in advance, we've probably got at least 30 to 40 people working on it on a daily basis. And and we're still a month out. So you get down to the actual week of the site build and the weekend of the festival, and that number balloons to 300 or 400 people when you factor in all the different staffing positions that we need to bring in for the weekend. And it really is, I've always said this about festivals, they very quickly become 365-day a year living, breathing projects. And quite honestly, we're already putting plans in place right now for 2025, just because, it really does take at least a year to do it properly. Obviously, our main focus right at the moment is getting all the final details put together for 24, and then we'll look at all of our notes once we get through this year's festival, and I'm sure we'll have more things that we need to improve on because we never stop with that. Like we're always striving for perfection, but in reality, do any of us ever really achieve perfection in life? So
there's always something.
There's always something you can do better, and it's the same thing.
And if you're like me, you're gonna notice it, and everybody else is gonna be having a great time. You're gonna be like, oh, I didn't like where that was. Let me grab
exactly.
that,
Even if it's something small, of like, oh, we should have put this restroom trailer here instead of there, or we should have moved this fence line over to this side instead of that side. That's kind of what I do, and that's kind of what Steve does as well, is we sort of walk around the site and we just nitpick. And that's not to say we say anything out loud to anybody because our crew is running around working their butts off, but we make notes and then we compare notes afterward. And we also, we did a fan survey after the festival last year, which we had a significant number of responses, all with great feedback for us, which really helped us sort of pinpoint what our priorities were in terms of what we needed to
these are people
improve
that are coming back this
Right,
year.
exactly. Like, people gave us a shot year one. We did some things right. We did some things not so great, and we're improving those. But our goal is to have all of those people come back this year and bring 10 of their friends.
What I love about it is like last year you guys had all these experiences. You had that like rooftop thing that Suede did, and then you had the art village and all these different things. So this year you guys are bringing a new beer garden. You're bringing back the vendors, so you're gonna have some art there again, like tying in art, music, community, culture. And then obviously food, food and whiskey. I know that was kind of the things I see on your Instagram a lot.
A more focused effort on craft beer. I mean, look, St. Louis is and always will be a beer town, and we've never, we've recognized that with the festival. We sort of felt like bourbon, there was a clear lane to do something a little bit different. And bourbon will still be there, as will all other spirits will be represented well at the festival. But we decided to put a renewed focus on craft beer this year.
Something like craft beer and live music and even the age group that you guys are, catering to. So I want to kind of take it way back, way before Evolution Festival, and kind of talk about the evolution of your career.
The evolution.
So
you like that name?
I do. No, I like the name. The name is. I love the name. I love the branding too. You guys did great.
We struggled with the name for a bit.
I'm sure it's hard.
We had a different name picked, and we couldn't end up getting it. I won't go into detail. Some friends of ours ended up using it, and that's okay. But so Evolution was our number 2 choice. That quickly became our number 1 choice because when we announced the festival, we sort of created this statement of, St. Louis is evolving.
Mhm.
this festival is a signature of that
Mhm.
ongoing evolution.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of resonated with people. So
Mhm.
now we're thrilled that we chose that name.
Yeah, and it's funny how things work. Picking a name is the hardest. I just had a child, so that's similar to a festival. I mean, a festival is probably more work than a child too.
See,
so
my
it's a-
kids, it had to be a J name, so the choices were limited.
Yeah, so it's but yeah, like the names, but then quickly once you come up with the name, it just becomes part of you, and you have to like live out. You have to find that mission that you guys. But I like Evolution, the branding with the purple.
Thank you.
The little sparkly tree on the website, the
Yeah.
little sparkles and stars and everything's really thought out. And I know that so back to the evolution of your career. So you've been doing these things for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So you and Steve both, and you guys have created amazing festivals. Tell us about some that you've been a part of that
Gosh.
people might know that are listening.
Well, I mean, I spent over 15 years with a company called AEG Presents, of which Golden Voice is a part, and a lot of listeners may know Golden Voice because they do Coachella and Stagecoach. I was not directly involved with those festivals, but I was very close with the top people at the company who put those festivals on, and we would collaborate back and forth on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Coachella obviously is
Huge.
It's become the most popular festival in the world. So, we all look up to Coachella and New Orleans Jazz Fest, which is also an AEG Presents property. But
Stagecoach has been blowing up.
Stagecoach, exactly.
They just had an
Stagecoach
amazing year
did
this year.
incredible
I
numbers this
followed
year.
along on Instagram. I was like, wow.
Yeah, so I look at that contingency as true, sort of mentors to me in the festival space. Some of the ones that I created, I've always been a rock guy, so that was kind of my niche and my lane coming up through my career. So a lot of the festivals that I created over my career were rock festivals, some of which are still around today. One in particular, the first one I ever did was Rockfest in Kansas City, which became this huge one-day rock event. Sponsored by 98.9 The Rock, which is the big rock radio station in Kansas City. And we grew that from 15,000 people up to 55,000 people. Wow. So that was the first big one. And then from there, some partners and I created Rock on the Range in Columbus, Ohio, Carolina Rebellion in Charlotte, Northern Invasion outside Minneapolis, and several other hard rock festivals. In addition, I created one called Mopop that was more of an indie alt festival in Detroit.
Nice.
I've done some country things. So it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But, my focus was always trying to create festivals that had a strong regional impact. The big ones out there that everybody recognizes, the Coachellas, the Lollapaloozas, the Bonnaroos, et cetera, the Austin City Limits, which are all amazing festivals, but they're attracting a national and in a lot of cases an international audience, which is amazing for them. My focus was, for the festivals that I created, was creating more of a regional attraction where we would draw a lot of people from ideally like a 300 to 400 mile radius.
Drive somewhere you can drive.
Yeah, or a quick flight, and that's really what resonated with a lot of those festivals. I mean, for Rock on the Range and Carolina Rebellion in particular, we did end up drawing a national and international crowd because, at that point in time, there really was no large-scale multi-day hard rock festival in the U.S. So Rock on the Range was kind of the first of its kind in that regard, and it grew very quickly, quicker than we thought it was going to grow. Yeah. But I think that I've got a variety of experience in genres, but at the end of the day, it's really about the look and feel that you create for the fans that's the most important thing. And for that, we always try to change it up and make it a little bit different for each one of them.
Yeah, you have to. And it is all, like you said, about the fan experience. And it's like these people are spending a lot of money to come to these things. They're getting babysitters, they're traveling, they're driving, they're staying in hotels. So like, how can we provide as much value for those people as possible?
It's the value proposition. I've talked about that for 20 plus years. I can't remember what year it was that I started the first festival, maybe 25 years ago. But that value proposition is really key. And there's no secret. It's become a lot more challenging for us as producers because these festivals are, you alluded to it earlier, we're going out there and we're building a city in a field for a weekend basically, and we're there building it for a week on the front end, and we're tearing it down for 4 or 5 days afterward.
Right.
And it's a self-contained thing. It requires a lot of people. It requires a lot of equipment, and it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And inflation continues to go up. Everything's gotten more expensive post-COVID, which we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it becomes a big math problem for us. Is we've got X amount in expenses to put the event on, and you include into that what the talent costs, because they're not free, and they're not. I mean, they're making good money too.
Yeah.
And then we have to figure out the math of, okay, how do we break this down into tickets, in order to be able to sell enough.
And that's a formula that you guys
to cover our expenses. And it's this festival costs millions of dollars to put on each year.
You can tell, it's amazing.
And unfortunately, we have no choice but to sort of create the ticket prices based on what our expenses are.
Yeah, just like anything would.
Right,
like
and anything we can do to try to bring expenses down, we try to turn that into a ticket price savings. So we put a lot of work before we announce for the year. We put a lot of work into trying to figure out, how we can cut better deals with our vendors, how we can cut better deals with the talent, all those types of things that can result in potentially the lowering of expenses, which can maybe help us bring our ticket prices down a little bit.
That's amazing. So let's talk about the talent. So is that your field, or who's?
Well, it's myself, and we've got a guy on our team, Jeff Jarrett, who does a lot of stuff around town, and Jeff kind of is our daily point person for talent, but he and I, because all the other festivals in the past that I've done, I've always booked the talent myself.
Yeah.
So
is that fun?
But it's fun, but
Fun.
it's a pain. I mean, the negotiation is really
These are all
painful at
agents
times.
and teams, and
I love them. I mean, they're all good people. Well, most of them are good people. But it's just, they're doing their job, which is try to negotiate the most amount of money for their artists.
Yeah, they're working for their artists, and you're working for yourself. Yeah.
And we're trying to, explain to them, look, if you charge us that much, then that means we're going to have to raise our ticket prices to this, and we really don't want to do that. So can you maybe agree to come in and do it for a little bit less? And rarely does that work, but we still ask the questions every time. But yeah, Jeff, plays a significant role on the talent side. And, I sort of have an idea of where I want to go with headliners. And then he kind of comes to the table and fills in with like, here's who I think would complement that.
Yeah.
So it's a very collaborative effort between him and myself.
Yeah. So this year, obviously, you guys got the Killers there on Sunday night. Beck on Saturday night. You got Billy Idol. You guys got a ton of people that we know on here. Like I said, Killer Mike's on Sunday as well. He's got a super big following.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are talking about Killer Mike.
Yeah, he's been killing it lately. Jane's Addiction on Sunday night. So when you look at what people can expect, obviously there's we talk about these whiteboard moments, and you're painting your ideal person that you want to be at this festival. And you said that there was a void in St. Louis. So talk us through that creative process of like how you could create something that people, like you said, in your age group or even lower. I mean, people of all age groups, but like there was a void in some of these.
Yeah, listen, like, look, we're welcoming to anybody that wants to come and experience Evolution Festival. It doesn't matter how old you are. So come on and enjoy it with us. But, we have a target in mind, and that target is late 20s into early 30s through 50s, 60s, and even into the 70s, because there are still plenty of people. It's not like the old days when you hit 50 and you were a senior citizen. Yeah. It's funny. I was looking at it's something I was scrolling through my Facebook feed a couple days ago, and I saw this comparison of celebrities at 50 from 30 years ago to celebrities at 50 now, and it's like night and day. Yeah. I mean, when I was
50s, like the new. Those are the people that are having the most fun.
Yeah, 50s. I will honestly vouch for the fact that my 50s.
Like you're lying.
Just wait, Remy.
Yeah. Wait.
My 50s have been outstanding so far. But so the goal is we want to try to attract people, of all ages to the festival. Yeah. With the ones that I mentioned as a focus, and the way we go about curating it is, I feel like I'm more of a mainstream guy,
Mhm.
whereas Jeff is more of kind of knows the nooks and crannies of like the hot up and coming
Yep.
indie alt bands and the
Mhm.
hot up and coming hip hop acts
Mhm.
and Americana or country acts. So we sort of complement each other. But what I always like to think of it as is the decades, because look, St. Louis is a neighborhood city. St. Louis is a where'd you go to high school city. We all
Mhm.
know this.
Mhm.
So I almost think of it in those types of terms of where'd you go to high school. Like what years were you in high school? Those were sort of high school and into college, your formative years where music just has such a deep meaning and songs and artists stick with you likely for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make sure that we had all the different decades represented. And that's what's really important to me is to make sure we've got 1970s representation or 80s representation,
Mhm.
90s representation, 2000s, and the 2010s and up to current.
Yeah.
And that's really what's important to me is to make sure that we've got something for everybody in those age demographics.
Yep.
So you look at people that are on the top end of that in their 60s and 70s, and you look at a guy like Nile Rodgers and Chic.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy has been so instrumental, not just with Chic
Mhm.
back in the 70s and into the early 80s, but with all the other artists,
Yep.
that he's produced
Mhm.
or written with or performed with.
Mhm.
And he does all of that stuff during his set, which is amazing. Or Todd Rundgren on the rock side.
Mhm.
So and then you fast forward to the 90s, and then you got guys like the Killers and Beck
Yeah.
and Jane's Addiction that just really kind of hit the mark.
Yeah.
And they're names that people recognize
Mhm.
and that most people still have an interest in seeing.
I mean, they're gonna play like Mr. Brightside, and it's gonna go crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gonna go nuts.
Absolutely. I mean,
It's gonna go
they-
nuts there, dude.
The Killers
That's
is
gonna be the
really
video.
one of the most
Yeah.
formidable festival headliners you can see these days. I mean,
Yeah.
they are just amazing.
Yeah.
And
That's
Jane's Addiction with Dave Navarro back in the band. I mean,
Mhm.
it's kind of a special moment for them as well.
I like how you guys hit all those because, like you mentioned, like that's smart. So you like almost like you start with these headliners of like, okay, these are our pillars, and then let's work and create this pyramid up towards these pillars. And
Correct.
some people come in for somebody that's on the bottom right corner because they're a new up and coming indie artist that they love, that they found out on TikTok or whatever it might be. And then you have Killer Mike, who's an activist and doing
Right.
so much in the community and like building a huge brand, winning Grammys for the bands that he's a part of. And it was almost similar to what you guys did last year of like you had Ice Cube, which, everybody in their 50s loves Ice Cube. And like even though kids our age are like, oh, Ice Cube, I haven't heard anything. The guy from the movie, they don't even know.
But then they get out there and they see him and they go nuts.
Yeah.
And that's what we experienced last year. And that
Yeah.
was exactly why we booked Ice Cube, and that's why we booked Sugar Hill Gang as well. And
Oh,
not
yeah,
only
Sugar
was
Hill
the
Gang, too.
50th anniversary of
That was
hip hop last
dope.
year,
Yeah.
but it's like, everybody over the age of 40 likely knows a few Sugar Hill Gang songs,
Yeah.
even if they didn't realize
Yeah.
it was Sugar Hill Gang until
Yeah.
they heard them
Yeah.
sing from stage, and that's what made it really special. So yeah, I mean, we want to check as many boxes as we can.
Mhm.
A festival can never be everything to everybody. It's impossible to do that, and those that try really usually end up failing.
Yeah.
There's a few exceptions to that. I mean, Jazz Fest is a festival in New
Yeah.
Orleans that's really able to put pretty much any genre on the bill, and it will be interesting for people.
Right.
But generally speaking, you have to have some bumpers on it. But it's really important for us to make sure we're hitting something in each one of those demos, and that it's stuff that has enough commercial and mainstream appeal that will cross over, and people go, I don't really know Jane's Addiction, but I think I know a few of their songs. And then they end up realizing, well, they actually know probably about 10 of their songs.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of that stuff that go in curating a festival. Booking the artists on a festival is a long process. It's a tedious process. But what you said, you've actually got it right. I mean, the way I typically like to go into it, and Jeff agrees with me, is we book from the top down.
Yeah.
Yes, we will get some calls from some younger up and coming acts or more current acts, or even just lower tier acts that we know we want on the festival, but we'll kind of put them off to the side
Right.
because it really starts at the top.
Yeah.
And those top 3 or 4 each day are critical. And that's really what we focus on first. And then we look at, okay, now that we've got sort of a top 8 that we really like, now how do we fill this out and make sure we're hitting all the demos we want to hit?
Yeah. So besides buying a ticket and coming to the show, what other ways can like all the people that listen to our show are in St. Louis, but are there any other ways that they can support?
That's the only way, buy a ticket. Now, listen, I think there's 2 ways, really. There's buying tickets, which again, please understand for all of your listeners, a lot of people out there, because I've read a few things in the press, not necessarily this year, but last year, or some comments on social media. Steve and I aren't in this for the money. We're in this for the love of doing it.
Yeah.
We're far, far away from making money on this festival. And like you mentioned earlier, festivals, when I first started doing them 25 years ago, there was a possibility that you could be profitable year 1.
Yeah.
And by year 3, if you did things right, you were rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
But
it's not the same
anymore. The country has gotten saturated with festivals over the last couple of decades, and it's really hard. And it's likely a 5-year plan to make money on a festival this year. And, for Steve and I, that's not why we started doing this. We did this for the right reasons, because we feel like St. Louis deserves this, and we're the ones to do it and have it go properly and have it be around for a long time. So, look, buying tickets just helps keep the dream alive, because we have a lot of expenses we have to cover. We're not doing it to make money. We're not going to make money. We didn't make money last year. We're not going to make money this year. I don't know if we'll make money next year. We'll see. But that's sort of the long-term investment that we're making
in this.
But, but the best way to help us is to buy tickets, because that shows that you're willing to support this endeavor. And that's what we need is we need people stepping up and not just, sitting on the sidelines with their arms, crossed, proverbially going, I'm going to kind of sit on the sidelines and just watch and just see how it goes. We believe we started really proving ourselves last year with an incredibly successful first-year event. We're going to build on that this year. We need people to come out and support it.
You need people to talk about it after. You need people to talk about it with their friends. I mean, I think that St. Louis, we have to support the events that are here in St. Louis instead of like not going and then going out of town and spending
Stop talking about it and start doing it. And that not only goes for Evolution, but that goes for the other great festivals in town. That goes for the Confluence Festival that happens in conjunction with NASCAR in June with Music at the Intersection, who are great friends of ours, and we love them.
Music at the Intersection is great.
We love that festival. I mean, people in St. Louis have got to really start coming out and supporting these things, because otherwise we'll go back to a place where St. Louis doesn't have this stuff, and nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, buying tickets is one thing, but the other big thing is really just sharing it. Like sharing it on your socials, sharing it with your friends, share it with your family. It takes a while to build a brand, to build a positive brand. And so we're only in year 2. A lot of people around St. Louis still don't know what Evolution Festival is.
Yeah.
So if your listeners can help us educate people, that's equally as meaningful to us.
Absolutely.
Because we're still in the discovery phase.
Yeah. So you mentioned long-term goals. I mean, obviously, like you've been in this industry for a long time, but you guys didn't just do this just to do it for 1 or 2 or 3 years. Like you want this to be a staple festival. I would imagine I can let you speak to it, but like, what is that long-term vision that you have for Evolution Festival to kind of be a legacy project for St. Louis?
So you're born and raised here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and hopefully a lot of your listeners are too.
Yep.
You remember the glory days of Fair St. Louis, down, underneath the arch on the riverfront, hundreds of thousands of people coming around the 4th of July each day to celebrate. Ultimately, and Steve and I were both involved with that in its heyday. Our goal is to create a similar type of experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be that large scale. I mean, I don't know that something like that ever happens again that's that big, but who knows? But something more importantly that the people of St. Louis and surrounding areas know that it's coming every year. They love going. They mark their calendars far in advance. They have friends come into town to join them to come to Evolution Festival. That's ultimately what our vision is we want to create something that's long-lasting, that we can be talking about here in St. Louis for the next 15, 20, 25 years or more, that as a city, we're incredibly proud of, and that we hold up as a crown jewel, just like Forest Park is in the marketplace, and that people are excited to say, this happens in my city. Evolution Festival is in St. Louis. That's where I live, with pride.
Right.
So that's ultimately what our vision is. It doesn't have to be gigantic in terms of size. We don't have to have hundreds of thousands of people. So even if we have 30,000 people or 40,000 people or 50,000 people over the weekend, that's still, you can have a nice festival,
Right.
but we want it to grow organically, and we want people to feel like this is a sense of pride for themselves, that this is happening in their city. So we're not there yet, but we're getting there. It takes years to build that.
Yeah. I mean,
But that's the vision.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I think you guys will get that.
I'd like to think so. I mean, I love this city.
Yeah.
I know what
You got
this
a good
city
team.
is capable of.
You guys got people that have been doing it. I mean,
it's just the city's got to stop, saying on social, I'm going. It's like, buy the tickets.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I'm going. I'll buy my tickets later. Yeah. Buy the tickets.
Right.
It's that's what makes this economic machine work.
Yeah.
So, and as much as we do it for the love of the people getting together and the sense of community, and for me, the reason why I'm in this business to begin with is the connection that artists make with fans in person. You can't get it online. You can't get it listening to Spotify or anything like that. It's a personal sort of in-person connection that when that artist walks out on stage that you've grown up with, that you love, that goosebump moment, as I like to call it, that's why I got into the business to begin with. So love creating those moments, but this is a business. And in order for the business to succeed long term, we need the support of the community.
Yeah, no, I think that's well put. I mean, I'm excited. I think it's super special to have an event like this in St. Louis. I always said that I'm 28, but like I never had like a great festival. Like I've traveled all over to go to festivals, and we were talking about that off air a little bit, but like having a festival in one of the most famous parks in the entire nation, rated the number one park by USA Today.
Exactly.
To have that in Forest Park, because when people come to this, from out of town, they're driving into Forest Park like, well, I didn't know St. Louis was like this, and you're creating that moment. But you're right about the music. I think that after the pandemic, people wanted those in-person moments, and like how can we create? And that's what I love social media, but I also dislike it, even though that's our life. Is the social media is like nothing's actually real until you go out and like enjoy
social media
a moment.
has its place. There's no doubt. But there is nothing. I dealt with this during COVID because I was working for at the time when COVID started, I was working for a company in New York, and as you're aware, when COVID hit, the live music business, it just stopped. Like in 24 hours to 48 hours, just stopped. It didn't slow down. Stopped
for a long time.
Right. And so it's one of the things that I was focused on during COVID was helping another company put on pay-per-view shows.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right. Just to give people, try to give
Amazon
people
was doing some
something,
stuff.
right?
Amazon,
and a lot of artists did it, and some of them made good money, and some of them, and for us, we were trying to do it for two reasons. Again, we weren't making really any money on those
you just wanted to
video
keep excitement
performances.
going.
We wanted to do it for the artists because they were desperate to earn some money during the pandemic, and we wanted to do it for the fans because we knew everybody was going stir crazy and needed to see some concerts. But we experienced immediately post COVID that people came rushing back out to shows because everybody knows this. It's not the same experience. As much as we loved what we did with pay-per-views, and as much as, watching concerts on television or YouTube or wherever else on the internet now, you can still do it, but it's not the same as being there.
I remember the first concert I went to after that. The Grove, Soul Taco in the Grove, he hosted a show, and it was the first concert, and he hosted Busta Rhymes came in the parking lot and played.
Socially distanced?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I did some socially distanced concerts.
They had little pods and everything, and they were serving tacos outside the food truck. But Busta Rhymes played, and there was like 5,000 people in a parking lot.
You can't replicate that. You can't. And this is, I mean, COVID sort of amplified it, but this has always existed in the business. I mean, you don't get the same feeling listening to a record by an artist. I say record meaning an album or a CD or whatever the electronic. There's something about the live experience of seeing that artist that you love standing 50 feet in front of you, singing these songs that help shape your life. You cannot replicate that feeling anywhere. Yeah. Which is why I think the live business has really become the cornerstone of the music industry. Yeah. Over the last, decade or so.
It's kind of a blessing. It's a blessing that came out of that, because now your job is to go live and tour, not just put out music.
It's interesting because I look at my entire career and I, will tell people when they ask that, when I started 30 something years ago, the record business was the dominant part of the music business. I mean, artists made records. They made a lot of money making records. The record companies were incredibly powerful. And then you also had the radio stations that played those records that were incredibly powerful. Acts back then used to just tour for fun and for pocket money. Yeah.
Just to meet people and have partying.
And have it be a marketing tool to sell more records. And, with the advances in technology, that changed along the way. And it really, the live music side of the business really became the centerpiece. I always like to say we went from being the icing on the cake to the cake itself. Yeah. And now the icing is selling recorded music. But really artists make a living on the road nowadays. Yeah. So, and I welcomed that because it just made my segment of the business that much more important.
Yeah, and exciting. So let's talk about St. Louis as we wrap up here. So it is the STL Bucket List show. You said you grew up here. Is there any spots in St. Louis that are on your bucket list, like restaurants or any places in town that you love to check off? Or when people come in town to visit you, they're like, hey, this is a spot we're going to. I mean, obviously Evolution Fest is on your bucket list. We know this.
Absolutely.
We know this. It's a bucket list event. But this could be, let's actually paint a picture real quick. So you and your wife, you have a day off, no kids for one day. What are some of the spots that you guys are going to?
I'm not sure I can say on the podcast. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding, Lisa.
Have you guys ever had a day off together?
Yes, we have. And I mean, I think honestly for us, for my wife and myself these days, it's really more about spending time with our boys, with our kids. So she's been in the business, she's involved with Evolution, and she's been in the business for her whole career as well, mostly for a long time on the motion picture side of the business. But we pretty much like to say that we've kind of been everywhere and done everything. So it's not like there's anything that is pressing on our bucket list that's like we have to go see this before we die, or we have to do this before we retire. We're very lucky. Yeah. We've traveled everywhere. She's traveled more internationally than I have, but we've traveled to some key places internationally that we both love. I've been everywhere in the U.S. multiple times, as has she. So it's not really traveling or anything like that. It's more just spending time with our boys who are 19 and almost 18, and our friends, our close friends, and just sort of enjoying life, because we got caught in the trap. She and I both got caught in the trap of career. So we spent decades just focused on climbing the ladder. And it was fine. Like, I wouldn't go back and change anything, but I think we both got to a point when we reached probably near 50 that we said, you know what? Like, there's more to life than just work. And it's so obvious, but so many people forget that. And we were two of them that forgot it. So we've really just decided that what makes us happy nowadays is we put all of our effort into work when we're working, and then when we're not, we just walk away from it. So honestly, I'd love to sit here and tell you that you'll see me or my wife and me out at a bunch of shows. It doesn't happen. Yeah. Like, we'd rather just hang out with our kids. Yeah. And that's fun. I mean, there are plenty of shows that we would still go see, and we've seen. I've worked with almost everyone at this point in my career. Yeah. So there's no one that I'm like, I have to see this act because I've never seen him before. It's just, is it the second time or third time or fifth time or 10th time that I've seen them? Right. So I'd love to tell you that.
Well, that's a good bucket list, is just hanging out with your boys. And,
I wish I could lie and make up something a little bit more exciting, but but the honest truth is that we're homebodies. Yeah. And we just like being together and being with our family and friends. And we're not constantly going out to shows. We're not constantly going out on the town and hitting 20 bars and 15 restaurants. I mean, we've got some places that we really like and we frequent those. But aside from that, we're just kind of low key.
That's amazing. That's well said.
What are you guys laughing at over there?
The
Our
longest
publicity
answer.
team.
Yeah,
Our
your
publicity
listening
team is laughing at me.
They're like, all right, wrap. Well, guys, I appreciate
Well,
you.
these two are party animals, so
I already know that. I see them everywhere.
That's right.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't. But I don't go out anymore either, which is
yeah. And kids, honestly, kids change that too.
Yeah.
I just feel like I missed a lot of my kids' early childhood because I was
traveling
on the road doing shows and festivals and stuff. And
so now you're like, let me be there now.
Yeah, my younger son is going to be, he's a senior in high school this year, and so he'll be going off to college next year, likely out of town.
Yeah.
So I want time with him. He and I both play hockey, so we share a lot of hockey fun stuff together, and
that'd be cool.
And my older son is he's with Lisa and myself a lot. He's a great kid, and he makes us laugh constantly. So he's our comic relief always.
There you go.
And it's just like, what else do you really need?
Yeah.
Other than family and some good friends and a job to pay the bills.
Yeah. Facts.
That's right.
Well said. Well, guys, go to evolutionfestival.com, grab your tickets. We're going to be doing some promo on site that day. So we're going to have the film crew out there. We're going to be shooting some content. Going to be super fun. We do have a couple giveaways going to be running this month that we're going to be doing on STL Bucket List. We have one that would have already aired, and then we have one with the 100 Above the Park, which is right on the other side, the apartment complex across the street.
Can I get in there?
We're giving away a room there. So
really?
For the night. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's very nice over there. I don't know if you've ever been in there.
I've only seen the outside. I've never been inside.
So yeah, they reached out to us and they were like, "Hey, we want to give away, a room." And I'm like, "Well, can we give away tickets to Evolution Festival too? Bundle it together."
That's awesome.
We've
got a lot of hotels involved with the festival, but I didn't know that they were involved. So that's great.
This just came up just recently, just a few days ago. So it's been awesome. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.